I think a huge journey for me within music has just been getting out of my own way, honestly, creatively, just to sort of trust myself. Hey, I'm Dermot Kennedy and you're watching Billboard News. Yeah, I moved to New York in January and was here till about May working on the second album. And music feels important here, you know what I mean? There's so many great artists here. It's always been an important place for artists to come, and it's a good place for that side of me to breathe, honestly. As someone who kind of feels like a wanderer and someone who's meant to explore and bring their music with them wherever you go, this place just makes sense for me. I found the word Sonder a few years ago, the meaning being just the awareness that everybody is living a life as important and as complex as your own. At that point, I didn't really have any part of my life or career to attach it to, so it was just a word I kind of appreciated, and it meant something to me and it made me feel something, and then I kind of moved on from it. And then in the process of making the second album, it's just interesting because you're trying to find something that means as much to you as the first, and then you're trying to kind of unlock that same honesty and that power of a feeling. With the first one, that was easy because classic thing, right? Like, you have your whole life to make your first album. Every idea in there, I knew it so well, and I was so sure of it and so proud of it, and I knew I could stand behind it. And then second album, you have very little time, and so you have to say something worthwhile, and you have to prove that you deserve to be around, and there's added pressure in that sense.
I can't promise easy days, and I can't keep the rain away, so just kiss me the way that you would if we died tonight.
One thing I struggle with in music and having this career is this idea of like yourself being so important, and I feel like it's a very self-centered pursuit, and like that's reflected in everything, right? Like in terms of my relationship with my family, with my friends, it's all really like I go home and I talk about what I've been doing, and we talk about like how this was and how that was, and it's fun to talk about, but sometimes you just like, you're so focused on yourself the whole time, and I'm not that kind of person, you know what I mean? And I never have been. That just resonates with me a lot because it feels like it takes some pressure away, because it feels like I can still progress in my career and fulfill ambition, but also just, it's not necessarily only about me anymore. And that kind of cliche thing of like artists being like, let's all share this music together. It's like, we actually share that idea, you know? And I just find it very liberating in a sense, because it's like, instead of me working on this album and being like, what am I trying to say? Like, how do I feel and how should I make this? It's just like, oh no, let's all share this together. And this is now like a shared experience, and these albums define the way I live, and I can already kind of feel me putting pressure on myself in a healthy way. You know, this album is about like having empathy and being conscious of other people's struggles and triumphs, and so I can't just say that and not live it.
Still the one you call when there's a story to tell. I'm still the one you call whenever you're hurt.
When I write, it's like a time sample where I'm at in my life, but that's quite a freeing thing in a way too, you know. But I think something that I'm guilty of, and a lot of artists worry too much about, is like, oh, this next song has to be the best thing I ever did, and this album has to be incredible, and that's the only way it can be. It's like, true, but also just do it and move on.
Once upon a time, I was something to someone.
I used to struggle with like artistic insecurity a lot, and I didn't know if things were good enough and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now I'm at a point where, okay, well, if things have gone as well as they have, it's like I should just trust what comes out of my brain, you know what I mean, to some extent, and just trust that enough people like that I can fill a room in most cities. To be honest, like, my career just feels like a balance for me, you know? Like, I can touch on certain genres, I can stay in my comfort zone, that's a balance. I can like have this huge ambition but also want to keep my creative integrity, that's a constant balance. Everything for me is just like this juggling act every day.
Dermot Kennedy's album Sonder is out on November 18th.